Hi, I'm Fred McNeil, and you're watching QAC TV 7. Thank you for being with us. Now, we're in downtown Stevensville with two of my favorite characters. All right, I have Nick Hoxter. Nick, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
And Bill Denny. Good to see you, Bill.
Good
okay.
to see you.
And thank you for the mint that you gave us. We're going to give everybody in Queen Anne's County mint iced tea come next spring. What do you think?
It's a good idea. Everybody will love it. And my wife loves to give flowers and things away. So it'll fit right in the groove with the way she thinks. I don't like to give all my decors away, so I sell them.
Okay.
But anyway, that's one of my habits.
Well, and thank you for that. Now, guys, let's do this. We're sitting right downtown Old Stevensville, and we're just going to tell everybody what used to be here, okay, and your memories from way back when, all right? So, Nick, let's start with you. If I turn to my right, okay, what was there when you guys were growing up?
That was the old American store, forerunner of Acme today.
Okay, so the grocery store. Huh?
It was a grocery store. I worked there back in '47 as a clerk.
Okay.
And of course, in those days, we had to wear a shirt and a tie. And when the truck came in and brought beef, side of beef, anything, we had to unload it, and then they let us go home to take a shower.
Okay.
So it was a good job.
The only grocery store in Old Stevensville?
Oh no, there's one here, one over there. Yeah, Billy can come to them.
Okay.
But years before that, Melvin Clark told me. Now Melvin was a saint, you know me, Saint
Right.
Melvin, and he said that Jim Weston and his wife Rosie had a store there. And when they left there, they went across to where they had the piece of cake today. But that store, in my youth, was the forerunner, as I said, of Acme.
Okay, and a regular grocery store,
Yeah,
milk,
and it
all
stayed
that
there.
stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah, and they sold. And every store sold kerosene. They had a little depot up to the station where they would get a truck came down. In fact, my uncle Olden Hoxter used to deliver it, and they would fill up a 100-gallon tank in the store. And when they come in, people want coal oil. You crank up a gallon or 2 gallon.
And take it back home?
Take it back home. Yeah, that's the way it was.
Now, before I go to Bill, Nick, when did that stop being in Acme? You have a
In
memory?
1952, when
52.
they opened the bridge, they built a shopping center. David Nichols built a shopping center, and we became kind of a ghost town, but not really. A lot of the businesses.
So this store went up to the shopping
Oh yeah,
center.
it went to the shopping center.
Okay, and that's the Acme that just closed in the last couple of years.
That's the Acme.
Okay, well, let's continue with it too.
Bye.
Yeah. Now, Bill, if we go from that store with the Acme, how about we cross? What was right across the street?
Right across the street would be where, when I was growing up, it was Charlie Rowe lived in the front part, and it went on back, and in the back part was a barber shop.
And this is where a piece of cake is now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Oliver Legg, which I went to school with his son, Chick Legg, he cut hair back there.
So a barber shop. Okay.
Yeah, in the front there, Charlie Rowe would bed down in there, and then of course Oliver Legg had his barber shop back there. That's what I remember from the very beginning. And then I'd go down there and get my hair cut.
How much was a haircut?
A haircut then I think was 50 cents. And Mr. Legg would usually, as soon as I walked in, he said, "Go ahead and sit down." But this one particular time I came in there, and there was Toogie Breeden and 2 of the captains from the Mattapique ferries in there, and they were feeling pretty good. So Mr. Legg said, "Sit down, Bill." And I was a little young fella, and I said, "No, let those guys sit down first, because I'm afraid they might just wring my neck if I go ahead of them." So these great big guys got in, got their hair cut, and of course they had a few drinks. Then the next one got in and had a haircut and had a few more drinks. And then the next one, which was Toogie Breeden, I knew him very well, he got in and got a haircut. And by that time, my hair had grown a little bit longer.
It was down to your shoulder.
So I really needed a haircut. So I got in and sat down, Mr. Oliver Legg cut my hair. But I was not going to go ahead of these 3 people that worked down on the Mattapique Ferry.
Bunch of tough guys.
Tough guys. And they would have probably just put me in the pocket and walked on out with me. So anyway, I enjoyed it very much, listening to their stories and so forth. But then I went to the next area, And by the way, Nikki and I went with a little girl that lived right behind that place, and her name was Shirley Eaton. And Nikki said he knew her.
You're making Nick nervous over here, you know that.
Yeah, and I thought I knew her better than Nikki, but I don't know which one knew her better, but we both knew her. And I took her to the prom on my bicycle one time, and I think I was in maybe the freshman or sophomore class, and they invited me to come, so I went, and Shirley happened to be there with me, all dressed in her little evening gown, so we went together.
Really on a bike, or you're teasing?
No, it was a Whizzer bicycle.
Okay. All right.
Had a gas. I could get 100 miles to the gallon on this Whizzer, and of course I only fill the thing up about once a year because it got such good mileage, you know. But anyway, we went on over here to Mr. Groman's store.
Now this is across the street?
Which is across the street.
Okay.
The white building. Now,
right on the corner here, right?
Right on the, runs right around the corner. And they call it now the Trade Winds Exchange. But actually it was the Groman store, a yard, and then a lady that sold yard material and cotton and
now, what was the Groman store? Was that a grocery store? Or
the Groman's was mostly boots and rain suits and
clothes and stuff.
And farmers' overhauls and so forth and so on. And then between that store and this flat area here was a yard. Then they had this store.
Okay, so that was open space.
That was open space, and of course, like I say, this store sold mostly dry goods and things like that, and needles and thread and all the ladies, farmers' wives, would bring them in here, and that's where they got their needle and thread and material. But there was mostly for the guys that oystered and crabbed and worked on the water, so they had rain suits. And then you go on down here, was a home here. I didn't know too much about this home.
The Rowe family.
The Rowe family, Nick says. And he, knowing Nick, it's a possibility that he knew the Rowe family's daughter.
Okay. Quite a. Well, let me go back.
He would never introduce me to her. I don't
okay.
think.
Well, go ahead. Let me check with Nick then. I'll be right back.
Okay, old buddy.
Now tell me. Okay, so we've gone from the Groman store, and this was what, a single
that
dwelling?
store was called Callahan's Calico.
Callahan's Calico.
And they sold. My great grandmother was the village seamstress, and she bought all over material there, needles, cotton, thread, whatever you needed.
And people in those days made a lot more of their clothes, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, okay.
But my great grandmother, she was. They tell me she was very good, and she had people from Centerville, even as far away as Easton, do it. And I know that she worked into the evenings late. Her and my great aunt, because my great grandfather had died. But that was a very nice.
Considered a seamstress, wouldn't she, Nick?
Beg your pardon?
Make different aprons and so.
Seamstress.
She was more of a seamstress.
Yes.
So you could go there and buy stuff already made.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You could, yeah.
Okay.
But you could, but
bring it in. They make it there.
Mostly she sold everything there. You go in there and she'd have a few things that you could buy, but most of the time she sold mainly cloth and needles and so forth.
Okay. Now, as we're going down, so the Rowe family was here?
The Rowe family was here.
Okay. What about the cute little yellow building? Now that's a unique looking building.
Post office. But let me go back here.
Oh, go ahead.
Originally, Billy, didn't Dr. Kemp live in this house originally?
I think he did.
Yeah. He owned that too.
He was from Love Point.
Yeah.
Dr. Kemp. Phil Kemp's
He also
father.
had that yellow place.
Okay.
Before it became a post office, it was his office.
So that was actually a reception area and just a unique shaped building, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So reception area in the front
Yep.
and his office in the back.
Yes.
And that was now how about the building there?
Didn't they add on to that post
I
office?
think they did later. Oh yeah, I think they did add it on later. Yeah.
Before that, it was just that little rectangular building there.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Now is that the post office where Franklin Delano Roosevelt came?
Yeah, right. He sat right out front. You see those four columns?
Well, tell
there?
that story. Go ahead. We haven't.
Well, yeah. Genevieve Long was the postmistress, and
Was she a pretty nice lady, Nick?
oh yeah, she was a very nice lady.
Very attractive. Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, very
Okay.
attractive. In fact, she lived right back here. Her father had a big business back here. It's
Okay.
all gone now.
Earl
But-
Long.
Yes, Cap Merle. He came down to visit because she she was a staunch Democrat.
Okay.
Democrats were in power.
Okay. And those days, the postmasters were appointed. Is that right?
When the president went in, they went in. When the president went out, they went out.
Okay.
That's the way it was.
Is that how it worked, really?
Oh, yeah.
No civil service. Okay.
No.
Actually, Genevieve was so well known that she stayed in and was the postmistress for years and years and years. And I know when I used to go in there with my daddy's mail, she'd help me put the 1-cent stamp on about 30 letters. And while I was there, she would ask me, she said, "Now, Billy, if you will get me a swan, I'll give you a box of gun shells." And it was a white swan.
Oh, for real? Okay.
So she knew I could get one, so I said, "Okay, I'll be glad, Miss Genevieve, I'll be glad to get you a swan." And I knew if she gave me a box of gun shells, that's 25 shots. So to kill a swan, I only took 1 shot. So I'd have 24 shells
It was a good
to
deal.
do whatever I wanted
Okay.
to do. And I would get her a swan every year. We never got locked up simply because I think she knew the President of the United States.
That helps. And
So
now,
Billy Boy did what he wanted.
now, let me go back now. I'm sorry, I interrupt you. FDR again. So
I want to correct him. He's
ahead.
right that she stayed on because the civil service came into effect.
Okay, so
when
she got it-
Roosevelt was in his term.
Okay.
I think, and it could have been Truman when he did it.
So she got grandfathered in under the civil
That's
service. So
absolutely
she was
right.
safe.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, she
So
did.
so FDR what drove over or just before the bridge? Okay. So
And you know, he didn't have the Secret Service. He had the Postmaster General William McFarland, and he had a state trooper
And that's
on a
it.
motorcycle.
that was it.
That was it. They
Just-
didn't need no Secret
And
Service.
they actually parked right here on the road, and no traffic
facing
went
this
anywhere.
way.
President
I
of the
remember
United
it.
States sitting right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I've got pictures in my book of it. I really do. Yeah.
So anyway, he shows up just to visit this particular
that's
person.
what he was here for. Yeah.
And no photo op, just to
Oh,
visit.
well, some people, newspapers, I think
Okay.
the Record Observer came and got pictures, and they took pictures. of
Now,
him.
how-
he was
just-
a popular man.
Now, would he have taken the ferry across? or
Oh,
did
yeah.
he ride- oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Now I have a story, and I'm not going to go into that today. But one of the ladies worked down to Mattapique at the clubhouse, said the president had come through that day and stopped.
Okay.
President
of the United
Roosevelt.
States.
Yeah, he was on his way back because he left here. He went somewhere down the shore and spent some time, and then he came back.
So he was just traveling the
He
shore.
was traveling, but he
basically.
made a special effort to see Miss Genevieve.
Nothing wrong. And
Yep.
she was a staunch
Yep.
member of his political party.
Yep.
Now, how about the building next door?
That was Norris's drugstore. Doc Norris had that. Fine man. He had he sold sandwiches. First time I'd ever seen it. These little Coke tables with the wrought iron chairs,
Okay.
with Coke made.
Yeah, okay.
And I would go in there to get the mail from my mother and my grandmother, great grandmother, and I was amazed at people sitting there eating lunch.
Just all in the drugstore.
He had a nice lunch.
A nice
and he
counter,
made his
too?
own ice cream. Pardon?
He had a counter like the old
Oh yeah,
drugstore counter.
yeah,
Okay,
oh yeah,
all right.
yeah. And he sold drugs and cough syrups and things like that. And he was a very nice man. Everyone seemed to like him. And he kept it going. I remember World War II. He was still going before Hop went in the army.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lord.
Now, did the town, was that the end of the business district? Oh no, it kept going.
Next door, Buck Sessions had his barber shop downstairs, and he lived upstairs. We went to school with his son.
Yeah,
in
we had
college.
2 barbers, one here and one there, or a day later?
No,
That was
was
later.
later.
That was later, okay.
And then later, when Buck came out of the army, he built a barber shop here with showers, and people would come here and take showers for a quarter. But I remember when Buck would cut my hair right over here for 15 cents, and when he come over here and built this place, he charged a quarter. I thought that he'd really going up.
That's quite an increase.
Yeah.
So let's keep going down there. So post office, we have a barber shop, and we kept on going down the
Well,
road?
Melvin Clark said that next door to the barber shop, they had a service station. Now, that was before my time, but he said,
I kind of remember that a little bit, but I can't pin it down, Nick. And you and I and Melvin thought about that I don't know how many different times. The only thing I can remember, there were some tanks there at one time. And it seemed like to me you recalled that. And that was in that parking lot below Buck Sensi's barber shop.
Yep. He
But
said it was an Esso, and now Melvin said to me it was an Esso station. That's what he told me.
Know.
Yep.
So people just drive so you can get your hair cut, you got an Acme, you've got a post office, you got sewing material. I mean, you had just about everything you needed.
Oh,
right?
everything. Yeah, we had 3 doctors.
Right downtown.
We had a bank. We had 3 grocery stores. We had Franum's, and as Billy said, of course, he sold a lot of horse harness, plows, anything for the farm. That's just where the people
Come in right here and buy.
But this place on a Saturday night was a busy place.
Now, with
and
the
everybody dressed up with shirt and tie, starch. I said, why are they dressed
Now, this
up?
is all pre-World War II.
Yeah.
Pre-World War II.
And 48, I remember
Okay.
too, don't you, Bill? 48 when we were.
Well, they park on either side of the street.
That's right.
So when you came down here, you had to drive in between cars parked on the right
and this place was
cars
packed.
on the
Oh,
left.
packed.
And let me tell you one more little detail that Nick knows about, but he didn't say. The men would bring their wives in to do the shopping, and of course they would use the eggs as money. They trade eggs for merchandise or food, and everybody had hens on the farm, so they bring all these dozens of eggs in, and of course they trade them for whatever they wanted, like material or different things in the grocery store. But the big thing was at Dr. Norris's drugstore, all the men came in with their wives. Then you would see no men and all ladies walking around here. Well, actually what happened behind that store there, Dr. Norris would have a little drinks there,
Okay.
and they'd all go back there and sit on a bench and drink, and their wives were all walking around
So
here
they were
shopping.
out shopping and the guys in the back drinking.
That's a fact.
Okay. Now, I guess I should ask you, Nick, was there a bar and a restaurant too?
Oh,
yeah.
down here was
Okay.
the pool hall,
Right.
and they sold beer.
Now, this is going past Piece of Cakes down that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
off on your right, and they had 2 lanes. I used to set up my pins there, and I got I think it was 5 cents every time I set up.
They roll you a nickel down the lane or something.
Well, yeah, something like that. But Dr. Sadamar, he loved to play pool, and he loved to bowl, and he'd get mad, and they didn't have anything to put up, so Stuart put up chicken wire, so the pins wouldn't fly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because when Doc got going, and they say, Doc, Doc, and he'd get him so bad, he'd throw that ball, it would bounce, 1, 2, 3, and come. I said, oh.
Well, what else did Dr. Sadamar like to do? Hit German.
Now, this was the gentleman you told me about earlier that fought World War I with the Germans.
That's what he says.
And then came over here for World War II.
Yeah, and he liked to drink beer.
Oh.
He could drink more beer than I could haul. And when he drank a beer, he didn't sip it like this. He just took the top, got it off, put it up to his mouth,
Chugged it.
and went. I don't know how I could drink a beer like that.
Well,
and then when he set the can down, it was empty. That's
would
an
say-
impossibility.
No, I couldn't.
He would say, come on, Nick, have a beer. And I'd say, okay. He'd say, beer's good for you, flushes the kidneys out. And boy, he
And
could,
he was he must have had great kidneys.
Yes, he did.
Well, in Germany, they didn't drink water, they
right.
drank beer because the water was contaminated. So that's where his ability to drink beer came
From there. Now, Nick, how about where we are right now? Where we're sitting at, was a fountain here in those days?
No,
okay.
this was a parking area.
Oh, this was parking.
Yeah, Franum had about 3 or 4 cars you could park through here. Of course, this was well, we'll talk about that later.
Well, that's right. Tell me what that was. Go
No,
ahead.
that was Will Lowe lived there. He had his store, and he owned this. And Franum rented this, and he made it was called IGA, Independent Groceries of America.
Another grocery store.
Yeah,
Okay.
another grocery store.
Now, with Acme or no? Before, after?
Same time.
Okay, so
Same
you
time,
had
yeah.
at least 2 grocery stores.
And when he closed that drugstore, then another grocery store opened there.
3 grocery
Yeah,
stores.
3 grocery stores.
Ed Dawkins.
Yeah, Ed Dawkins had it.
Okay.
Yep.
So you had an IGA, an Acme, and another store there.
That was independent, yeah.
This was parking. Now, let me just go back. Bill, when you say on a Saturday night or Friday night, when you say a lot of people, what would, hundreds or?
I'd say there were at least 100 people.
Okay, milling
spread
around
out,
shopping.
the men would be milling around and going having a little cup of tea behind Dr.
Okay.
Norris's store.
Medical purposes only.
Medical
Yeah, that's right,
purposes.
that's right.
And to get the dust out of their lungs when they were farming, there's a lot of dust, so they had to clear their lungs out. And that was a prescription, was a shot of Old Crow or something. But anyway, I remember Halloween, Ted Breeden and I used to go through here with a bar of Ivory soap, and we start there and go right on down that
Hit all the windows?
every window. And when they came out, we'd get it going and coming. So we soaked right side, and then the left side, they'd come out, and if they knew who it was, Breeden and I would have probably been hung.
I wanted to tell you,
got away with it.
down where we had the pool room.
Now again,
No
we're
place
going
to
back.
go.
We're
Yeah,
going
we're
back.
going down
Piece
that
of
way.
cake. That's the tough end of town. Is that what
Yeah.
you're telling me? Okay.
Well, it had next to Stewart, there was Clay and Clark had his house, but then there was a big pit which they firemen had dug. When I say
Literally a
firemen,
hole in the ground.
Yeah, to put fires out. They get water there.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately,
It was reserved.
in my lifetime, 2 young boys were drowned there.
You're kidding me.
They had
Tragic.
put chicken coop wire over it, but the boys fell through it.
Oh, mm.
And Doc Sadamar told one day Mr. Charlie Collada's son, Carl Collada, fell through. And when they brought him up, Doc was there giving him mouth to mouth and doing everything he could. And Mr. Collada said, I thought sure my son was coming back. And he said, when Doc stood up and said, it's no good, he's gone. He said, I like to die. I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
And I was mad with
And
the
this
man.
is, let me just, this is what, about 100 yards beyond where Piece of Cake is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he said, Mr. Collada said he was so mad with the man who had put it there because it was a death trap. One boy got killed before, and then still they kept it.
Breeding boy.
That's right.
Ted Breeden's older brother.
That's right.
And tragic loss. Now, let me, I'll go with you. Bill, when did we lose this? We're going to wrap up here. When did we lose this in terms of shopping being a key? The building of the shopping center or the bridge or what?
Well, I really believe the convenience of the shopping center, and you know, women don't like to go from door to door. They like to get in the building, stay there, and buy everything under one roof.
Okay.
And I think the shopping center answered that question for them, and just one place, you know, to go to. But still, these stores have hung on, and Franum's IGA store, he was always here, and of course that corner store was there, but gradually they went down and didn't have the business.
Now, we're competing with cars, but that's all right. Last question, Nick. Kids, we've talked about the adult shopping. The guys had their little place to get some medical things, and the women were shopping. Would kids come too on a Friday and Saturday night? And what would they do?
They brought the whole family.
And what would the kids just, besides soaping the windows?
Well,
well,
that was Billy. They were honoring.
He was on it.
Yeah, the boys around the main street. We weren't like that, you know. We were.
Okay.
But anyway,
Text one to know one.
The kids would go shopping, and they would give you a nickel or and
You
I
buy
tell you,
penny
the
candy.
store over here was
Okay.
was Clark's confectionery store, and he sold ice cream. And at times you could go in there and get 3 dips for a nickel.
3 dips of
3 dips of
all types of different flavors, or
Oh yeah, whatever you wanted.
okay.
Yeah, and but he also sold gifts at Christmas time. He had little toys. He had women's clothing, men's things, you know, and he stayed there for many years. He started out over here, and then he went over and took that store.
Okay.
So the kids had something to do.
So they between probably penny candy and ice cream, and mom and dad telling them to stay out of trouble, they could have a good night.
And listen, at one time we had a movie down here.
Oh, now tell us about the movie. Go ahead.
The movie was put in, probably 1925.
Okay.
The church.
Now
They
again,
closed the
past
church.
Piece of Cake.
Yeah, and go on down. We call it Benton's down there.
It's okay.
And as we went down there, there were 3 places. There was Dr. Benton's office, and then there was the church, and then there was the elementary school, which later became the high school, which then became the elementary school again.
Okay.
But anyway, down there, they closed that church and built a new one up here.
All right.
So Senator Kerwin, who was a state senator, he bought it. He turned it into a movie. And it ran until 1942. 1942. And
I was in the 8th grade, so it was in the 40s or 41 or 2.
42.
And I watched it burn down from upstairs in that high school, or elementary school at that time.
So it caught on, but until 42 it was active, and you go there.
Yeah, they called it the Stevensville Opera House.
Okay.
And the old timers used to say when they burnt down, the last picture playing thank God for my memory. I mean, was Roxy Hart with Ginger Rogers.
Okay.
And the old timers around town would say it was so hot, boy, to burn it down.
Okay. Well,
And who was the man, Nick?
who is the male actor? I guess that's what you're asking.
Who looks at a man when you got Ginger Rogers, man? What's wrong?
No, it
He
was
lived on
Clark
Cliffside.
Gable.
Oh, Clark Gable and
I
Ginger
can't
Rogers.
remember if Clark
Oh,
played that.
Yeah, it was Clark Gable.
I'm gonna go home and look it up on the internet.
And his lady friend, actor, was the lady. What'd you say her name was, Nick?
Ginger Rogers.
Ginger Rogers. And they actually stayed in the same room together, but Ginger didn't want him sleeping right next to her in the next bed, so he hung a
blanket or something.
blanket
Right,
across there so they'd have separate rooms.
Okay, all right.
And of course, everybody in town picked that up and said, that's what set the movie on fire.
It's such a hot movie. All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
That was a big deal back there.
yeah, well, the world was different, right?
And of course, this went to Love Point to the ferry.
Okay.
You went that way, Mattapique to the ferry.
So this was a busy road.
Oh, it's a very busy
Okay.
road.
As it is today, we're
As
finding
it is
it. Okay.
today.
Well, guys, look at let's wrap it up today. Thank you for a great tour of downtown Stevensville. All right. Now, where do you think? Where are we going next week?
Where do you want to go, Dan? Where you want to go?
Wherever you want to go.
Okay.
You want to go to Romaco?
We can.
Okay.
And we never finished Mattapique. We never did
Okay.
go down and do the ferry slip.
Well, folks, as usual, we're not sure where we're going next week, but I'll have Nick and Bill. We're going to be somewhere here on Kent Island. I'm Fred McNeil. Thank you for watching QAC TV7 as we stroll through Old Stevensville, Maryland.